The playbook ran green, but app port was 90/90 on half your hosts, not the 80/80 you set in inventory. The culprit: a forgotten playbook vars blocks silently overriding everything. Let's break down Ansible variables and facts, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Ansible variables are named values that parameterize your automation. They allow you to write plays that adapt to different environments, hosts, or conditions. Variables can be defined in inventory files, playbooks, roles, command line Extra-Vars, and dynamically via register and set fact. Facts are a special kind of variable automatically gathered by Ansible when gather facts is true. They contain system information like OS distribution, network interfaces, memory, and CPU. Facts are stored in the Ansible Facts Dictionary and can be accessed like any other variable. Ansible variables can be defined in multiple places, each with a specific precedence. From lowest to highest: inventory variables, playbook variables, role defaults, role vars, set fact register, and Extra-Vars. Understanding this ladder is critical to avoid surprises. Inventory variables are defined in the inventory directory structure. Common patterns include group vars/all iml for all hosts, group vars/web servers, iml for a group, and host vars/web1, iml for a specific host. Use Ansible inventory list YAML to dump all inventory variables for debugging. Here's an example of inventory variables. The group vars file sets HTTP port to 80 for all web servers, but the host vars file overrides it to 80/80 for web1. Host variables take precedence over group variables. Playbook variables are defined directly in the playbook file using a vars block or loaded from external files with vars files. Vars prompt allows interactive input, but it's not idempotent and should be avoided in automation. This playbook defines two variables, package and state. They are used in the app task to install Nginx. Playbook variables have higher precedence than inventory variables. Roles can define variables in two locations: defaults/main, iml with lowest precedence, and vars/main, iml with higher precedence. Use defaults for configurable settings that can be overridden, and vars for internal constants that should not change. Here are role defaults for an Nginx role. These values can be easily overridden by inventory or playbook variables. They provide sensible defaults while allowing customization. Extra-Vars have the highest precedence of all variable sources. They can be passed as key equals value pairs, JSON, or YAML files. They are useful for temporary overrides or injecting environment-specific values in CI/CD, but they can be dangerous if used carelessly. This command passes an Extra-Var app version with value v213. This overrides any other definition of app version. Use Extra-Vars sparingly and validate with syntax check. The register keyword captures the output of a task into a variable. It stores a dictionary with keys like stdout, stdir, rc, and changed. Use result, stdout to get standard output, and result, rc to check the return code. This playbook runs the uptime command and registers the output. Then it prints the stdout. Register is useful for capturing command results for later use. The setFact module creates or updates variables during playbook execution. Unlike register, it can assign arbitrary values, not just task results. Use it to combine multiple register variables, transform data, or cache expensive lookups. This playbook uses setFact to create a variable SumResult with the value 7. Then it prints that variable. setFact is useful for computed values. Hostvars is a dictionary containing all variables for all hosts in the inventory. It allows a play to access facts or variables from other hosts. For example, you can get the IP address of a database server from an application server play. This task prints the IP address of host web1 from any other host. Note that web1 must have been processed earlier in the playbook for its variables to be available. Facts are system information automatically gathered by Ansible when gatherFacts is true. They are stored in Ansible Facts and can be accessed directly as variables like Ansible OS family. However, fact gathering adds about 10 seconds per host, which can be significant for large environments. This task prints the OS family of the target host. Facts like OS family are useful for conditional tasks based on the operating system. Setting gather facts. False at the play level skips the setup module, significantly reducing playbook runtime. However, you lose access to system facts. Use this when you only need custom variables or have cached facts. This playbook disables fact gathering. The debug task runs without any system facts. This is fine if no tasks depend on facts. The variable precedence order described, role defaults inventory playbook vars, role vars set fact register Extra-Vars, is correct for Ansible 2x and later. However, in Ansible 2.4 and earlier, include vars and vars files had different precedence positions. Always verify with Ansible version and test precedence in your specific version. When gather facts, false is set, you can still selectively gather specific facts using the setup module with a filter parameter. This avoids the overhead of full fact gathering while providing needed data. Extra-Vars override everything, which can be dangerous in CI/CD pipelines. To prevent accidental overrides, whitelist allowed Extra-Vars in your pipeline script or use Extra-Vars at file, JSON with a vault encrypted file. Never pass secrets as plaintext e-arguments, as they may appear in logs. The Debug Module is your best friend for variable inspection. Use debug, var equals variable name to print a variable's value, or debug, msg equals, for formatted messages. Add verbosity, 2 to avoid cluttering normal output. These two debug tasks show different ways to inspect variables. The first prints the variable name and value, the second prints a custom message. Use verbosity to control when they appear. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The engineer defined app port in the Playbook Vars block with value 9090, forgetting they had done so. Playbook Vars have higher precedence than inventory, so the inventory value of 8080 was overridden. The fix was to remove the redundant Playbook var. The Playbook's Vars block defined app port 9090, which overrode the inventory group Vars value app port 8080, causing wrong app config on some hosts. The fix was to remove the redundant app port from the Playbook Vars block. The inventory value then took effect. Always audit all variable definition locations and use Debug Module to print variable values during playbook runs. This is the exact mistake from the incident. The Playbook Vars block set app port to 9090, overriding the inventory value. Always check all variable definition locations when debugging unexpected values. A common mistake is assuming inventory variables override role defaults. In this example, the Playbook Vars block sets app port to 9090, which has higher precedence than inventory. The engineer forgot they added that Playbook var, causing the wrong port to be used. A developer accidentally passed deploy env equals prod in a CI/CD pipeline, causing a production deployment. Always whitelist allowed Extra-Vars in pipeline scripts and use vault for secrets. If the target host hasn't been processed yet, Hostvars will be empty. In this example, DB1 hasn't been reached, so its facts are undefined. Add a fact-gathering play for all hosts before the main play. A common mistake is trying to access the entire register variable instead of its attributes. Use result, std out, not just result. The Debug Module will show the whole dictionary, but if you need the output, use result, std out. If a role depends on facts like Ansible OS family, disabling gather facts will cause undefined variable errors. Always test with check after disabling facts, or use selective setup calls with filter. When debugging variable issues, start by running the playbook with VVV to see variable resolution. Dump all variables using a debug task with var equals Hostvars inventory hostname. Use Ansible inventory to check inventory variables. Test with Extra-Vars to see if they change behavior. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is variable precedence order? Role defaults inventory playbook vars, role vars set fact register Extra-Vars. How to access std out of a registered variable? Use result, std out. Difference between role defaults and role vars. Defaults are low precedence and overridable. Vars are high precedence and for internal constants. And a few frequently asked questions. What is the difference between Ansible Facts and Hostvars? Ansible Facts is for current host, Hostvars is for all hosts. Can Extra-Vars override role vars? Yes, Extra-Vars have highest precedence. How to dump all variables for a host? Use debug, var Hostvars inventory hostname. Let's recap the key takeaways. Precedence. Role defaults inventory Playbook Vars, role vars set fact Extra-Vars. Use Ansible inventory to dump inventory variables. Disable gather facts for performance, but check dependencies. Use register for task output, set fact for computed variables. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Ansible conditionals and loops, then Ansible handlers and notifications, then Ansible Ginia 2 templates, and Ansible Vault for secrets management. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.